Is that me?
Broadcasting live on WNN 1470 AM, 95.3 FM, iHeartRadio, and the World Wide Web. This is Make America Think Again with your Google Blacklisted host, Tom Trento.
Danger, Will Robinson. Danger. No, Will Robinson.
Hey, what was I listening to?
Go.
That was bizarre. That was bizarre.
Well, I hit the button too quick.
No. It was her.
It was my computer was
What'd you do?
open. And I don't know
Her
what I was
computer
listening
was
to.
open.
She's playing the feedback on it.
No, her
No.
computer was open.
Different.
Susie Gold.
This is my new Mac. I'm trying to learn how to use it.
Monday morning. We hear this guy talking in the studio.
Who
we
is
thought
that?
it was you.
I blame Tom.
I close my computer, it doesn't go away. She closes her and it goes away.
Well, I stopped the video too quick.
Okay. It's Monday
That's
morning.
Monday. The gremlins are all out.
It's a rainy Monday morning on the 19th of October, 2 weeks, ladies and gentlemen. And listen, 9:05 in the morning, Tom Trento, your host with Susie. Get that stupid computer out of here.
Just turn it off. Turn the volume off.
There
Turn
you
the
go.
volume
There
off.
you go.
Okay.
Man, oh man.
Oh my god, it's Monday morning.
It's Monday morning. You got here. Susie was running a little late. A lot of rain going on. Listen, to everybody listening to us on wherever you're driving. It's very dangerous this morning.
Go slow.
Yes, please. We need you in 2 weeks to vote.
Yeah.
2 weeks from today. Actually, voting starts today.
Today.
in Florida.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go today.
Me too.
And then I'll probably go tomorrow. And then I'll vote maybe 3 or 4 times this week.
Well, yeah, that seems to be that's what they're talking about
No big
today,
deal,
right?
sure, yeah.
You could get a few ballots.
Look, this state is sold out for Donald Trump. What an amazing weekend, starting from our Jexit ladies who were up at the Ocala event. Remember that? We were talking to them on Friday. We got some special stuff for you a little bit later after we talk to Laura. Is Laura Loomer coming on?
Laura will be on shortly.
All right, we'll get
She's not on yet.
All right,
She's not on yet. Yeah.
So we got a cool piece of video from the Jexit ladies.
Yeah.
Did you see
good.
it?
I didn't see.
Wait,
I saw Siggy dancing. Is that the one?
No.
Siggy's dancing.
No,
Siggy
it's
was
dancing. It has to do with dancing.
Oh,
but it
okay.
wasn't
Good
Siggy.
morning.
Oh, I know. Oh, dear.
Is that Laura?
Yeah, it's Laura.
That's Laura Loomer.
Laura.
all right?
Good morning, Laura.
Yeah, you can get Laura going.
Good morning.
Yeah, Laura, so good to have you join us. So what's going on with your campaign? We know that Laura is running in District 21, and she's going to unseat Lazy Lois, and she will represent not just her district, but the entire country. So we are just looking forward to a big win for you. And I have to tell you before I ask you a question, is I just want to tell all the listeners that I know some, I can't say many because you have so many volunteers, but some of your volunteers, and they just can't do enough for you. They love going door to door. They love working for you because they know what you represent. They know what you stand for. They know your convictions and that you fight the fight for every single person. So I just have to tell you that that's from friends that I have that are your volunteers. So kudos to you because you developed an amazing team.
Yes, I have the best team. I have the best volunteers in the country, and they're very dedicated. And today's a very exciting day. It's the first day of early voting, and my volunteers are up bright and early. Some of them woke up around 5 in the morning just so they could go put out signs for me this morning. And it's pouring. It's pouring with rain. Okay, It's been downpouring with rain all morning long. But I'm telling you, I've never seen lines like I saw this morning for people waiting to vote. It's the first day, which means, they could have waited. They could have gone tomorrow or any other day between now and November 1st, or even on election day. But this morning, just at one of the locations at Hagen Ranch, over 300 people at 6 o'clock in the morning in absolute torrential downpour. There were older people with walkers, waiting in the rain just so they could vote. So people are fired up, they're pumped, they're energized, and we're going to be out and about the district today. So if you're planning on early voting, there's numerous early voting locations, and you can show up to whichever one you want in Palm Beach County and make sure you cast a ballot for me, Laura Loomer, for Congress, because we are going to unseat Lois Frankel.
Do you have any rough numbers about, who's in line, Republican, Democrat, who's voting who, or anything like that? Have you asked anybody?
No, because, you have to stay 150 feet away. So I don't know, but what I do know is that there have already been about 230,000 ballots cast by mail in Palm Beach County. But mind you, there are 3 districts in Palm Beach County, so that's a lot of different races.
And people could find
also,
you on the ballot so beautifully. Right below Donald Trump is your name on the ballot.
Right below Donald Trump is my name, exactly. So it's very exciting, a very, very exciting time. And we're going to be talking to voters all day. We're still knocking doors, so rain or shine, we will be knocking doors just like we did this weekend. We will be knocking doors in the rain, talking to voters in the rain. And if you haven't already voted, make sure you go out and you vote. The polls close at 7 p.m. today, and they open up again tomorrow all the way through November 1st from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and then again on Election Day, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Yeah,
but I think that we're going to have record voter turnout. I really do.
No, it is.
I still have people sending me videos, which I've been posting on my parlor all morning, and West Boca, Hagen Ranch, Wellington, all of these voting locations are just packed with people. The lines wrap around the building.
Cool.
Mark, I have the answer to your question. This is Tom Trento, your host with Susie Gold here. WNN 1470. We're talking to Laura Loomer, running in the 21st Congressional District. When she wins in 2 weeks, she will be the youngest congressional member of Congress running around.
Right.
You'll know Laura because there'll be 4 squad members running away from her in the halls of Congress as she pursues them
with their
to
pants
ask
on
them
fire.
some-
With their
with their
pants.
pants on, liar, pants on fire.
Well,
all of them.
I will be the youngest woman ever elected to the United States Congress, and it's a very historic election for other reasons too. I'm Jewish, and this happens to be the most Jewish district in the entire country. We have more Jews living here in District 21 than in places like Manhattan. There's over 100,000 Jewish voters living in District 21, and it's the first time in U.S. history where a Republican Jewish woman, that's myself, is up against the Democrat Jewish woman. And the Jews are voting Republican this year, so we are going to flip this seat. You will see, we are going to flip this seat, and Jews and Christians are united in our values, our Judeo-Christian values, which make this country great. And there was a report that came out the other day that said that 83% of Orthodox Jews will be voting for President Trump. And those are just the ones who, are brave enough to admit it. So I'm sure that number is actually much higher.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mark, the answer to your question, who's out there right now, if you take the pundits, the experts who pontificate on all this stuff,
Right.
and the real analytical experts, they are saying that the mail-in ballots that are returning are going to be mostly Democrat ballots,
Right.
Because they're afraid of the COVID and everything else, and they've been basically told by the Democrat Party, mail it in, mail it in.
Right.
So the preponderance of the thinking is that today is the beginning of what they're calling a red tsunami.
Okay.
There's going to be a massive
That's
red
the reason.
movement, but they said. But now here's the but. Don't get too excited because on Election Day, all the ballots won't be in, and some of the states are allowing a few days afterwards, and the mail-in ballots are going to come in and eradicate the red tsunami.
Well, see,
That
I
ain't
don't
happening here
believe
in
that
Florida,
because
that's for
they start counting ballots 22 days in advance in Florida. Other states, yes, that might be true. But
Other
they can
states.
actually start counting them in 22
We'll know.
Right. That's not going to be happening here in Florida. That's going to be happening in places like Michigan and Pennsylvania. But another thing that's really great about Palm Beach County this year is that it's the first presidential election that we have with the new supervisor of elections, Wendy Sartori-Link. And, she was appointed by Governor Ron DeSantis to replace the corrupt Susan Booker, who, of course, was removed along with Brenda Snipes of Broward County. So, I've met Wendy. I saw Wendy the other day when I went down to the supervisor of elections office to watch the canvassing process. And very nice lady. And I know that she is keeping things very transparent over there because I've heard very positive things from Republicans. And if you recall, Susan Booker, of course, was not very transparent, and she would kick people out She kicked people out and wouldn't let them come in. And Wendy has been very gracious. So we're going to have more election integrity in this district, at least because of our new supervisor of elections.
Yeah, we caught Susan Booker plotting with the Muslims about the.
Mark did a little undercover.
Oh yeah, with CARE. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. In a mosque. No.
Yeah, and speaking of that Islamic Center in Boca and CARE, just the other day, the Democrats, Keith Ellison and Hassan Shibli, who's the director of CARE, who was, one of the biggest advocates in keeping that voting location at the mosque open, they just gave an award to the wife of Omar Mateen, the ISIS terrorist who killed, 49 gay people in Orlando. So I mean, really sinister things are happening. This election is no longer about right or left or Republican versus Democrat. It's about right versus wrong. And I think that's why you have people out there of all ages, 6 o'clock in the morning in torrential downpour just so they can cast a ballot.
Amen. All right,
Amen.
Laura, we thank you for coming on. And it is day 472 that we have invited Lois Frankel to come on the show, and she still hasn't responded. We will keep trying. But you do, you keep moving the way you are, and we're going to roll out all these evangelicals, and you're going to get elected in 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Where you having your victory?
We will. And just like, you see all the censorship in the media right now, what they're doing to President Trump, they've been doing that to me for the last 4 years. I'm the only candidate in the country who is banned from social media. So, for those of you listening on the radio, this is literally one of my only ways to really communicate with voters. And we've been knocking doors. So, when you vote for me, tell 5 people and then have them tell 5 people to go vote for me as well, because that's how we're going to have to do it this year to beat these censors and all of the corrupt election interference that big tech is trying to utilize in this election. And President Trump just talked about it during his rally here in Florida the other day.
Yep. And we need to continue cleaning the swamp. So go, Laura. Go, Laura. We're so proud of you.
You're supposed to have a piece on you on CBS tonight on local stations. Is that what's happening, or did you get the date?
It's supposed to air tonight. Who knows? If I had $1 for every reporter who told me that a story was going to air and then it didn't air,
Okay.
I'd be very wealthy, right? But yes, it's supposed to.
All right.
We're so proud of you, Laura.
Tonight.
You're awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. We know that you're going to be taking that seat. It's yours. So we just need all the voters to go out and vote, just like Laura said. Isn't she great? She's fantastic.
Have a good day. Happy voting.
Laura, stay dry. All right. We got Trevor Loudon coming up in a little bit. I don't know if he's here yet, but I think right now, Susie Gold, is a time to unveil a video that has gone viral, as they say. When you put a video up, if a lot of people start watching it and sending it out, it creates this momentum, and they've given a word as like a virus, just going through. This is a good viral. And if everybody remembers, last Friday on our show, our Jexit team, Jews exiting the Democrat Party, heading up to Ocala, Florida, to the airport for 9 o'clock in the morning. They were on the air here. It was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. They got there. They got in a VIP section, and at the end, the way the president is ending his rallies now, he's playing YMCA. I have no idea.
What's with the YMCA?
Sounds like the goofiest thing in the world, but it's catchy and all that.
Well, and everybody knows it.
Everybody knows it, and
it's
all
a total
that.
gay anthem too.
I mean, the village people are probably going to go. They probably like him. They probably say, yeah. But in any event, he was playing YMCA and walking down the ramp right toward our 4 Jexit ladies, Sophia, Karen, Siggy, and Michelle. And Sophia grabs her camera, vertical TikTok video, basically. And Trump looks right at her, and the music's going.
He pointed at her.
He points at her, and then he starts, for our viewing audience only.
No, but you got to tell the listening audience what's going on.
For our listening audience at 9:18 in the morning, you will see the premiere. We're going to call it the Trump, the electric slide. This is the Trump slide. He dances with Sophia, and she caught it. She put it up. It went viral. Here it is, the premiere of the Trump slide in Ocala. President Trump dancing. Go for it. This is over. mark. It's a TikTok, 7-8 seconds. Once again,
It is the white man shuffle. If there ever was a white man shuffle,
that's a white man dancing, man.
Remember that Billy Crystal?
An overweight white man dancing.
Remember Billy
Yeah, but
Crystal?
you know what? That entire crowd was just great. Everybody dancing, the enthusiasm. You don't see anything like it. It really is incredible. His rallies generate more people come to it. I don't know. Did you ever hear of a Biden rally where there's more than 10 people?
They're in a circle. They're in a circle. They're in a circle.
One more time,
Yeah.
the Trump slide. And it humanizes him. He goes, look, I'm one of you guys.
Yes, and
Here
they're
we go.
having fun.
Here we go.
They
the
are
Trump
reporting 7,000 attended the Macon, Georgia one for the last one.
Wow.
He went from Ocala to Macon, Georgia, 7,000 in Macon, Georgia the same night.
Incredible.
Unbelievable.
Incredible.
All right, we ready for it?
No.
Not yet. Okay, well, we'll show it in a,
Here we go.
little
I got
bit.
it. I got it.
All right, here we go. The Trump slide, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. Watch it now.
Come on. Now.
Great.
Some girl took that
Yeah.
and did a split screen, and she learned the Trump slide. She learned that dance,
Yeah.
and she's doing it with him perfectly. We got to find that and play it. And Ivanka Trump retweeted the girl dancing with her father in the Trump
All he
slide.
has to do is bite his upper lip, and he's got the whole
He's
thing.
got
It's
the
just
whole
Billy
thing going
Crystal,
on.
you know.
We have said
great.
on this show for a long time that he's a billionaire. He lives in a gilded. I mean, his thing is so over the top and gold everywhere in his apartment in Manhattan. But he's really a blue collar guy.
Yeah.
All his building, he always was with the guys on the job and all that. And that shows that human side of him. That hey, I'm
Well,
down here. I
what
got a suit on, the president, but let's have some fun.
That's
What it
right.
shows to me though is I doubt if he's danced his entire life, with anybody at anything. But he's dancing out there on stage, so he's having fun doing this. I mean, and he's enjoying it, and he's like getting into it. I mean, you don't dance unless you're having fun.
That's right. It doesn't matter. He doesn't care about the dance itself. It's just that he's a part of the
moving. He's
group.
moving.
Part of the
He's
group.
not thinking, can I dance or I can't dance? I mean, some
He's
people
just
would be
moving with the group.
humiliated if they can't.
Alcohol. There's no alcohol.
Yeah,
in
he's
his
just
body,
having fun.
He's moving with the grooving, man.
He
Yeah.
doesn't drink. So if Biden wins, God forbid, what a boring situation that's going to be. He was just on before we came on the show. You were running a little late,
Yeah.
but you got here safely. Tom Trento, 9:21 in the morning. No Trevor yet. We got a lot to do. So when Trevor comes, let me know.
I'm trying to reach him.
9:21 in the morning right now on a very rainy.
Not just rain. This
It's
is
raining.
torrential.
I mean, it's
Feels like New Jersey.
standing water and everything on the
I
road.
got
like
my
some of this-
tomatoes growing in the backyard. I hope they're loving the rain.
Oh yeah, sure. But my new favorite morning show is Morning Joe. You used to watch that all the time.
Morning
Mike.
Mika. Yeah, Morning Mika.
Joe's head is exploding over all of this stuff. But Mika played a piece of Joe yesterday, Joe Biden, speaking to a faith-based group. And we got to get a copy of it. The guy sounds like it was a eulogy at his own funeral. He said, I want you to pray. And he was struggling. I want all of you to pray for me that I have the endurance to do this job if I get elected, because we can't manage 4 more years of Trump. So please pray that I have the strength and the endurance to do it. That was his prayer.
Oh my goodness.
I was very sad.
Oh
It's
my
like
goodness.
it's like
Feel
he's-
sorry for
he's
me.
being held hostage. Like, you're going to go do this, and he's trying to signal everyone, I can't do this. I don't want to do this.
Right.
And
That
Trump's
was a
there dancing
bad-
with the YMCA.
Bad
you know?
message.
That was a bad
Yeah,
message.
I tell you what,
pathetic.
the messaging is going very positive because the betting odds for you know what the betting odds for Trump winning or Biden winning? You know what they are?
Well, the Vegas
yeah, you know what the
books.
betting odds? Yeah, the online betting odds.
Well, if Vegas follows the pundits, Biden's ahead by 10. So it's got to be what, 10-1. If you bet $1 on Trump, you win $10. If you bet $10 on Biden, you win $1 at 10-1.
No,
Who
you're
knows?
close. You're close though. Here it is.
Something like
I'll
that.
put them up. I thought this might be interesting.
Or is Vegas flipping and saying Trump's going to pull this off?
Here it is. You can see that on screen. is if you put $1,000 on Donald Trump, you're going to win 1,400.
Oh, okay.
And if you put $1,000 on Biden, you'll win 588.
588. Okay, so Biden's heavily favored.
Biden's heavily favored
by the Vegas book.
Yep.
And Lord knows they're never wrong.
Right. Yeah, I would trust
So would
that,
you take that
right?
bet? Would you take that bet, Tom? If you put down $1,000?
No, I would not take that bet. Not what I know what's going on in Florida. Barry Fernandez and Damon Rosen is in the well, he's not in the house.
He will be though,
He
right?
will be. He's in town. He was with Barry at the Israeli car parade where we were all supposed to go.
Israelis for Trump.
Did you hear anything about that?
You know what? I watched it. I watched
watched it?
Siggy dancing, and Siggy spoke. Siggy Flicker, who was from Housewives of New Jersey. She was one of the speakers, and it looked packed. There were tons of cars, motorcycles, and again, a rally that generated incredible enthusiasm. And of course, we know that there's a great relationship with Israel. Israelis love Donald Trump. In fact, we were there for with the United West Israel trip. We were there the year that the U.S. Embassy was moved from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, and you could see American flags, you could see Israeli flags side by side, and there were signs everywhere that said, favorable things about Trump and just we love Trump and so the Israelis love Trump because they know what Trump has done for the relationship of Israel and the United States, and also in creating, forging peace with countries where there wasn't peace before, and an alliance where alliances weren't before. And, so they know, look, what does Israel want? Is just peace, live in peace, let their people, just live their lives. And look, this is,
there's some footage right there
footage.
You're looking at. And let me clarify for our listening audience on WNN 1470, 95.3, and a whole bunch of other FM stations, iHeartRadio worldwide. And if you're watching on theunitedwest.org, you can see some B-roll of there's Damon and Barry.
And Barry.
When we say it was an Israeli parade, we're not talking about a Jewish parade.
Right.
We're making a distinction between Israelis. These are people born in Israel. They now, for whatever reasons, are living in the United States, many of them in Miami, and significant, but a small number. It's not a large number. They held a parade, had about 1,000 cars at their parade, which is pretty amazing for a small group of Israelis. A week earlier in Miami, the Latinos for Trump and Hispanics for Trump held the same sort of parade. They had, according to the Miami Beach Police Department, listen to this, 2 weeks ago, 30,000 cars for Latinos for Trump.
That's incredible.
I mean, if Donald Trump loses Florida, it's totally rigged and fixed. It's just crazy. Yesterday, 1,000 cars for Israelis for Trump. I got to get the Italians for Trump out. And, we'll get some Ferraris out there and Lamborghinis.
Hey, I would go to, I'm Jewish, but I'd go to that one too.
Italians for Trump. Where's Coconati? We need Chicago Coconati. What do you
I could change my name to Coanati.
Yeah, Susie Goldie.
Goldiotti.
There you go.
Well, we have Trevor upside down in the camera.
Trevor, Trevor, what are you doing?
Upside down.
Trevor's getting dressed. Don't put that on the air.
It's not on the air. It's not on the air.
Trevor's ready in a minute.
Yeah, well, we can see he's upside down putting his clothes on.
That's a nice chair.
That's a very nice chair.
Wow.
He's a gamer. Trevor,
that looks like an ergonomic
He's a
chair.
gamer chair.
For those of you not knowing what we're looking at, you got to, when you're finished driving, go watch this on
No, it's not on the air. It's not on the air. It's not on the air.
We're watching Trevor Loudon, a good friend of ours, New Zealander, analyst, author, writer, I mean, everything. Keywiki.com, where you can get an investigative background on leftists. He's one of the world's foremost experts on Marxism and socialism, all of that. Been working with us for quite a while. And thankfully, Mark didn't put up Trevor's picture of him getting dressed in front of the camera. You got to realize, Trevor, the camera is hot. And, you got to unmute. You got to unmute. You got Trevor. You got to unmute.
Unmute yourself.
Trevor, unmute. Can't hear you.
Ask us to unmute.
Push down.
Now.
There you go.
There we
There you
go.
And a grand entrance here on the Trento Show, Trevor Loudon. Good morning, Trevor. How are you?
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Good morning, Trevor.
You're bringing comic relief to the show this early on a Monday morning, 9:29 in the morning.
That's a nice chair, by the way.
Yeah,
that's
that red and
a
black
gamer
chair is
chair.
awesome.
It's a gamer's chair. I spend 15 hours a day on front of the computer, so I'm very comfortable.
You need that ergonomically correct chair.
Very
It's
cool.
great, actually.
Well, look, Trevor, we have you for a little bit here. What happened? When do we get Laurie? Later?
Yeah,
Later.
should be
Okay,
on
so
in
we're
about
going a
10,
little- okay,
10
good.
minutes.
We're adjusting our schedule on a rainy day. What we need from you is a quick analysis. Our objective, as you know, because you've been working with us for a couple of years on this, mobilize 1,000,001 additional evangelicals to vote. Registration's over. There's about 3 million who have not been voting. We need about 1 million of them to come out. And one of the issues is the Marxist influence in the Democrat Party. We think that resonates with Christians who don't want Marxism. It's antithetical to the Bible. It's godless and all of that. Give us a quick analysis of the Marxist influence in the Democrat Party and here in the state of Florida in the Democrat Party.
Yeah, well, look, every Christian has to understand that the Democrats have already passed the Equality Act through the Congress, and the Equality Act will become law if Joe Biden is elected president. And what that will do will take away everybody's religious liberty. It will say that LGBTQ rights trump your religious liberty. So if a homosexual couple comes to your church and demands to get married and you say no, you'll get slapped with a $5 million lawsuit from the Department of Justice and shut down. The Democratic Party has been heavily infiltrated in the last few years by Communist Party USA, Democratic Socialists of America, Muslim Brotherhood elements, plus groups like Council for a Livable World, Workers' World Party even, Liberation Road, which is the pro-Chinese Communist front group behind Black Lives Matter. And so now that the Democratic Party is basically a Marxist party. And you've got millions of patriotic Americans out there who still think they're voting for the party of JFK or Harry Truman. But they're not. See, I see you brought the Equality Act up there. Now, in Florida, Virginia was a very reliably Republican state up until a few years ago. But a group called New Virginia Majority was set up by Liberation Road, pro-Chinese communists, and they worked to sign up over 200,000 minority voters, and they worked with the governor of Virginia, Terry McAuliffe at the time, to legalize 200,000 Virginia felons and give them the right to vote. Now Virginia is a Democrat state. Well, the same communist group, Liberation Road, the same people who are behind Andrew Gillum, who almost won in 2018, they have set up a new Florida majority, and they are signing up hundreds of thousands of minority voters, and they were behind the referendum in Florida in 2018, which gave 1.4 million Florida felons the right to vote. And now they're going up and signing them up as fast as they can because they know that 80% of them will vote Democrat. So, you know, Florida has got huge enthusiasm for Trump. It's got a very sound governor in Ron DeSantis, but we cannot be complacent. They are working, you know, this pro-Chinese communist group, Liberation Road, is supported by Communist China. They raised the Democrat vote by 40% in 2018 to almost elect the Marxist Andrew Gillum to your governor. They are still out there right now trying to do the same thing to make sure that Trump does not win Florida. So although the enthusiasm is really high here for Trump, we've just seen the two great rallies in Miami, you know, the anti-communist rally 2 weeks ago, the anti-socialist rally this weekend, massive turnout. You know, I spoke to the first one, and they had 30,000 cars there in Miami full of Cubans and Nicaraguans and Venezuelans who are warning America not to accept socialism here. We've got that going for us, but we need to understand the pro-Chinese communists are working the Black and Latino minority communities in Fort Lauderdale, Jacksonville, Orlando, etc. So every Christian, every conservative has to drag 15 friends to the polls, you know, has to get everybody there, because this is not to be taken for granted at all.
Yeah, that's very, very important. You're listening to Trevor Loudon. You can go to Trevor Loudon, TrevorLoudon, trevorloudon.com for more information on what Trevor does. He's sounding the alarm in light of all the enthusiasm of the Trump movement, the boats, the airplanes, the cars, everything else. There is this insidious movement that's somewhat behind the scenes. We're close enough to the election where we can say that maybe we have a couple of folks that are keeping a close eye on Forward Florida. That's one of these organizations, and the Democrat Socialists of America, DSA, the South Florida branches. So we got some pretty good insight into what they're doing. And they are, Trevor, they're pounding hard each and every day. The felon vote, they were all over that. That's closed now. Bloomberg threw a bunch of money, about 15, 16 million, to bring the pot up to 20 million to pay for 31,000 new voters to join the ranks. And they said they're all going to be Democrats. Basically, that's how they argued. He's also throwing $100 million in to defeat President Trump by supporting Biden. Why would somebody, I mean, he's a capitalist, he's a billionaire. Why would somebody like Bloomberg want to fund what is obviously a socialist Marxist movement?
Well, look, Bloomberg is very closely connected to Communist China. He's got big business deals in Communist China. But the Bloombergs of the world, the Bill Gateses of the world, I believe that they see Communist China as the model for their ideal world order. Right. You know, Communist China is a little bit different from the old China of the Soviet Union, and that big business works very closely with the Chinese Communist government. So I think Bloomberg and Gates and all these people, they see this model as the model for America, where you have a strong Communist Democratic Party, you have big business that cooperates with it, and everybody else is a peasant who does what they're told. Exactly. I think this is their ideal model. Communist China is the model for the future in their eyes. You know, they may have made a lot of money out of America, out of the American system, but they don't want other people coming along behind them making a lot of money and competing with them. They want a very cozy deal with the powers that be to lock in their wealth and lock in their power in perpetuity. You know, communism is not about sharing the wealth. Communism is about concentrating all wealth and all power in a very few hands. That's the real ethos behind communism.
Wow. Hey, correct me if I'm wrong, Trevor. Over in China, you're allowed to own businesses in China, but just 49% of them. The government owns 51% of the business. So they allow you to own businesses. And that's what they kind of like, is like, or the supreme power of this entity. And you can own 49%, not all of them, but some business you can own 49%. Is that true?
Yeah, look, I know that the PLA, the Chinese military, the People's Liberation Army, or the Communist Party are involved in every major business in China. You know, so Trump's goal of decoupling from China is a very, very sound one. Every time you invite a Chinese business into your country to allow them to buy up infrastructure, big food processing plants, or Hollywood, which they have done, you're basically inviting the People's Liberation Army and the Communist Party into your territory. It's like inviting Nazi Germany into America in 1938. Yep. You know, that's a comparable thing. So Yeah, there is no separation of business and the Communist Party in China. You're in any size, in a business of any size, you're part of the Communist Party apparatus.
And one other quick thing, if you look at the Freedom Road Socialist Organization, which is the start of it, you look at their symbology. It's very reminiscent of two things. China, if you look at their symbology, and also with a big red star on it. And also that other great book we had with Saul Alinsky, that book, what's the name of it? Tip of my tongue? Saul Alinsky book. Rules for Radical. It's the same exact font as that. And you look that they start Black Lives Matter and Florida Majority, and all these things all come from the China mentality, the China philosophy.
Yeah.
And so this is, go ahead.
Oh, and I say, well, Black Lives Matter, as we've discovered recently, is completely directed out of the Chinese consulate in San Francisco. You know, this is it's a Freedom Road Socialist Organization is now called Liberation Road, but their symbols are all the same. Their Chinese orientation is all the same. They control New Florida Majority. They control Forward Florida. They control Black Lives Matter, Dream Defenders, all of these groups. And they've actually allied them all into a major group now called Florida for All, which they have one Memphis for All. They have Durham for All. They have Richmond for All. These are all Liberation Road pro-Chinese communist groups working to flip the southern states by utilizing the power of the minority vote. And so communist China is working to flip Florida. And the only thing standing between us and that is electing President Trump in a landslide.
Amen. Amen. All right, Trevor, we're going to have to let you go. We will have you back because we want to dive into these details more. And for our listening audience, 9:40 in the morning, Tom Trento, your host, WNN 1470 AM, 95.3 with Susie Gold here. You're going to introduce our next guest in a minute. But for our listening audience, as you're driving, Trevor Loudon, go to trevorloudon.com for more information.
Spell that for them.
When November 4th comes, after Trump wins, these people aren't going away. They're going to form a resistance funded by Chinese communist money to undermine everything the president does and undermine everything that observant Jews and believing Christians do. So we got to be ready. We got to be ready and able and willing to fight by all means necessary. Trevor, thank you very much. Good having you on the show. We will catch up with you. You're doing the Lord's work. Keep it up, my friend. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Trevor.
And good to be part of the team, Tom. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. And we have our next guest who's on. And our guest is Laurie Cardoza-Moore, an incredible leader who is the founder of PJTN, which is Proclaiming Justice to the Nations. And just by way of introduction, here she was a homeschooling a mom who homeschooled 5 children.
Yikes,
and as she's schooling them and teaching them, she discovers all this anti-Semitic, anti-Christian, anti-American content in her children's textbooks. And it shows, what all of us, we don't have to have a position or be elected to a position, but we could see, what, something isn't right and fight for what is right. That's what we do in our country. And so she formed an organization in order to address these topics. She's a special envoy to the United Nations for Human Rights and Anti-Semitism on behalf of 44 million Christians. And just one other thing, there's so much in your history here, but I did want to mention that you were just named among top 50 allies of Israel. So kudos to you. Congratulations.
And I was hanging out with her last night. I was here in the studio.
Oh, quit trying to suck up, Tom.
And she was
trying to suck up and grab glory.
She and I,
the glory hog.
She and I were guests on the Jexit webinar. I went out and a bunch of people saw it. So I should have slept in the studio last night. Hi again.
Yeah, Laurie.
And everybody, thanks for having me on the show. Yeah, and Tom, it's great to see you again. What was it? Not even 12 hours ago.
Yeah. So here we are. We're 15 days away from the election. And so what is your organization now focusing on? What's the big push right now?
Well, really, it's to continue to alert parents to the indoctrination and propaganda being peddled to their children. And with the COVID era, this whole crisis has really become the silver lining in the clouds, because parents are seeing for the first time in many cases the propaganda that we have been, sounding the alarm about for the last decade. When we did find that textbook, not only was it in a local Tennessee school, local to our community, but we started hearing from parents all over the country. And there's so much, we talked about how critically important this upcoming election is. And it really is. This is really the battle. This is the battlefield for our generation. We're not going to go off to Europe to go fight a war. We're fighting it in our own neighborhoods, in our children's classrooms, on our college campuses. Our children have been indoctrinated with the propaganda. So now what we're pushing is to tell parents, you've got to be informed. We've got a pledge on our website for elected officials. You all know that we focus a lot on the local level, because it's the local level that affects our day-to-day activity.
Exactly.
Especially when it comes to education, especially with what we see happening in the streets with Antifa destroying our cities. It's all local politics. You've got several people across the country who are their citizens are trying to recall them because they are fed up with what's going on. We see it in Michigan, we see it in Washington State, Oregon, and other places where the chaos is going on. But this all comes back to, we look at what's happening with our young people in the streets of our cities. We're wondering, where did this happen? Well, a decade ago when we saw the content in the textbooks, not just anti-Semitic, but anti-American, anti-Judeo-Christian content, unconstitutional, pro-Islamic content that violates our Constitution. But we started sounding the alarm then, warning people, if we don't get rid of this propaganda in these textbooks, our children are going to turn on our constitutional republic. And look at what is happening. It is more crucial than ever. We saw in Florida just a few weeks ago, Broward County, when they had registration for schools, Broward County, this is so important because this shows the impact of local work and what we've been doing. Broward County saw a 3.5% drop in registrations for school. This is huge because we have been targeting Broward County, just like you guys have and many other organizations, trying to sound the alarm and warning parents, and parents are listening. It doesn't matter what spectrum you come from, whether it's the conservative, Republican, Jew, or the Christian, evangelical perspective, the Jewish perspective, the liberals. When I share the evidence of the content being taught and peddled to our children, it makes people irate because we're realizing that our children have become their guinea pigs for their agenda.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let me ask you a question then. How would the Trump reelection then ensure that the country continue in the direction that your organization is working towards, which is accurate textbooks, restoring history, not recreating history? So what would that Trump reelection, what would that look like moving forward?
Well, actually, last year we had submitted a white paper and we had 11 experts from different disciplines of education provide a summary of specific information that they were finding in the textbooks. We presented that to the Ambassador Friedman, who presented it to the administration. And you'll notice that you hear some of the same buzzwords that we have been being communicated from our president. He is acknowledging that our children are being indoctrinated with propaganda. This is huge. President Trump has already stated publicly that he is going to establish a 1776 program or commission to ensure that our children are being taught an accurate perspective of history. I also want to just talk about what's happening on the state level in Florida, and God willing, Florida is going to be the model that we use for other states to follow. In fact, we're already working in Tennessee in helping, but Governor DeSantis he's been leading the charge to get rid of the content, the inaccuracy in civics education in the state of Florida. And we were honored to be able to be part of the team to review the Florida civic standards and make recommendations for changes. We're going to see those changes. It takes time, because now once those standards are adopted, then the curriculum comes in. They've got to start reviewing. The publishers have to start presenting curriculum that the teachers can use, textbooks, instructional materials that teachers can use in the local schools. So eventually it's going to come down, and it's going to take some time. But this is where parents need to get to be engaged on the local level, contacting their school board members. We've got an election coming up. And, you know, when I speak across the country, I always ask people, how many of you know who your elected official is on your school board? Maybe I was in Pennsylvania at a CPAC conference. 3 people of the whole crowd, there was about 1,000 people, 3 people knew who their school board member was. This is a travesty. All politics is local. Yes, we have to keep our focus on what's going on the federal level. But when we want to affect what's happening in our neighborhoods, in our local schools, it is the local elected officials. It is our county commissioners, our city aldermen, because they typically hold the purse strings also in a lot of school districts to the curriculum, paying for the curriculum that is going to be used in those schools. But parents, all it takes, you know, you in your introduction of me, we got to try to condense that. But in your introduction, I was just one mom, just one parent who saw the content and knew what, if this wasn't put in check, knew what would happen to our community, what would happen to our state, and what ultimately would happen to our country. We are going to lose our nation. We are going to lose our constitutional republic. This is not hyperbole. It's not, you know, trying to get people out to vote. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. You all have to do, the audience has to do their homework, but they need to know where their elected officials stand on the propaganda on 1619 that's being shoved down our children's throats, on the Black Lives Matter, anti-Semitic Black Lives Matter movement and curriculum being pushed through our children's classrooms. You know what I find really interesting about this? Because BLM and 1619, they didn't show up until COVID crisis shows up.
That's right.
So what's been waiting in the wings? They've had this all polished. If you look at their website, you look at their materials, this is not something they threw together in a month. No, they had this sitting, waiting to shove this down our children's throats. Yeah. And look at the division that is happening in our families. We've got young people and parents and grandparents who are arguing over some of the most important facts of history. We're allowing people to destroy monuments, to tear them down. These monuments are landmarks. And, you know, it's funny because in the Bible, the Lord tells Israel, do not destroy the ancient boundary stones. Why? Why are boundary stones? Why are ancient landmarks? Why are monuments so important? Well, look at what happened in Syria. We had 1,800-year-old churches destroyed. Why? Because if we can destroy the history, then we can rewrite it. Mm-hmm. That is what is happening today. It should make every American over the age of 50 irate and engaged, because we're the ones who were educated accurately. You know, I graduated from Broward County schools. I was in middle school in Jupiter, Palm Beach County schools. I received the patriotic education that I have through Broward County. Can it happen again? You betcha. And we're going to make sure.
That's right. And we need
Laurie?
to make sure that was great. Very, really powerful.
Laurie, you might not tell people who to vote for, but we will.
How can, yeah, Laurie, how can, you know, those our listeners reach out to you? How can they learn more? I'm looking at your website. It's so extensive. We would love our listeners to go on your site. How can they reach out to you?
Absolutely. If they can find us at pjtn.org. And what we really need parents to do right now, while you have virtual classrooms in your home, and let me tell you, we're finding across the country that parents are having to sign virtual waivers that they agree that they will not go into their child's virtual classroom. And if they do, then the child could be removed from the virtual classroom. Well, that virtual classroom happens to be in our children's bedroom or another section of the house, and they're threatening us that they're going to come take our kids out and take our kids to a more secure or friendly community or area to educate our children, no, they're not taking our kids. But go to pjtn.org. We're on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We want to hear from you. If you find content in your children's classrooms, sit in and listen to the virtual classrooms. They can't do anything to you. They need to, if anybody challenges us, we need to pull our kids out of the public school system and say, you know what, you're not doing it on my watch anymore. Yeah. But we've got a lot of educational materials. There's films, there's books. We need to be educated. We need to be informed, and we need to rise up. You know, I'm reminded of Psalm 144, verse 1, where it says in the scriptures, asking God, praying, and as the psalmist prayed and asked God to train my hands for battle and my fingers for war. We are in, so as we're working, we are in the battle for the future of our Judeo-Christian country. Yeah. And it's Jews and Christians who are uniting together, people of faith, to fight.
That's right.
To take back local control.
So much. Yes, absolutely. What, you know, I'll tell you, we could spend an hour with or more with, you know, just speaking with Laurie alone. So thank you so much for joining us. I want to reiterate to all of our listeners to please go on your site, pjtn.org. And it is extensive. You can look at you can order books, you can you know, just become more knowledgeable about the organization. And also something else that is so important is that it takes all of us, not just, I mean, forget about elected officials. They are hired to do a job, but it's our country, it's our communities. And I love what you said, that this is on a community level, that we can fight the battle, and we need to know who is running, what they represent, and are they representing us? So we need to take our country back and take control. So, and vote for Donald J. Trump, because he speaks to us more than the other guy who's running. So, so thank you so much, Laurie. Appreciate you coming on. We need to have you on again.
Yeah, God bless you guys. Keep up the great work. We're honored to stand on the front lines with you all. We do it together. We stand together.
I'll probably see you later on this afternoon again.
All right, you got it.
Take it easy. You know, this is the problem. I've been at this a long time. The education has been taken over by the left. So to reverse all of that, you got to have a model. Florida can be the model on that. That'd be good. If Biden wins, this all goes out the window. He's going to accelerate this crazy agenda.
But we in the United West, you know, as we know, look, we need funds in order to get through to the election, certainly. But then what happens is after the election, well, if Trump wins, we're going to have Marxists who are going to be fighting in the streets, and we're going to still have a battle, because just like with the last election, they didn't want to accept the results. So we're going to have good work that needs to be done. And if Biden wins, well, there'll be more work to be done, because we're going to have a Marxist country going in that direction. So you know, really, we have our work cut out for us, and not just through to the November 4th, but November 3rd, but also through moving forward. So please donate, please help us, so that we can continue doing the good work that we're doing.
Yes, and it is good work. All right, we'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Tom Trento, Susie Gold, Mark Mary, everybody here, and Damon. Sooner or later,
Damon's going to come up
here eventually. One day, one week.
Yeah, one of these days. One day. See you tomorrow.
We got a seat waiting for
Ken
him.
Abramowitz will be with us tomorrow, and Marius will be with us.
Yeah.